Welcome back to All Over the Place, the official podcast of Media Pub Live. As always, we got Jim Culver, Marty Zamora, Christine Leninger. Our producer is going to be joining us today because our topic this week is just too awesome not to involve as many people as possible. Today we are doing the best, actually not the best, it's part of it is the best, our favorite albums from 1984. In my book, 1984, when you combine movies and music, entertainment value-wise, you cannot get better than 1984. Movies a topic for a different show, but I think just the melding of the layers upon layers, as a movie from 1983 would say, just there's so much awesome in 1984. And speaking of 1983, there were still things crossing over from the previous year between Def Leppard, Pyromania, Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue, Synchronicity. 1982's album Thriller was still kicking ass in 84. Huey Lewis and the News, Sports, John Mellencamp, oh god, the list could go on and on. But 1984 itself.
Good start.
I just want to get this all out of the way because 4 out of my 5 top bands ever released albums in 1984, and only one of them made the final cut to my favorite one of the albums of that year. That would be AC/DC. Did not release an album in 1980. Oh, technically they did. They re-released. What was it? Their EP. Anyway, it'll come back to me. But they did that. It was a Bon Scott one that they did just to capitalize on it. Let it be. Well, funny you should mention that. And here's the replacements with the single "I Will Dare" from their album "Let It Be." That's one of my top 5 favorite bands. Prince and the Revolution. And in case it's so nice, you get to see it twice, the 45 and the 12-inch of Let's Go Crazy, a phenomenal song. The 12-inch has the better version, though, because that's got the piano break as you saw it in the movie, not the radio edit. And also we had In Excess, had an album in 1984, The Swing, and there's a little 45 from that one as well. And a little band that you're kind of seeing in the backdrop there with my old and beloved dog Tuffy. He was a big Van Halen fan. They all had albums out that year, and only one of them made the final cut for a top album from 1984.
I can't wait to see which ones you've eliminated because I can't imagine.
Well, I already know there's overlap with 2 of us. And the dogs are very excited about this too. As always, we get was that Mabel?
Don't speak so soon.
That was a very well-timed bark.
All right. Well, I know I overlap with Christine and Marty on at least one, Jim. So I'm going to go to you first this week. Give us the first of your top.
Wait, are we going 3, 2, 1?
For me, there's no order. It's just these are 3 albums that I love from 1984. If you
want, Anarchy.
If you want to do it, if you want to go sequentially,
Dogs and cats living together.
I will, Monty.
A great movie from 1984. There you go, Jim. Well played.
Okay. All right, so I will go with my first pick, and I was doing 1, 2, 3, so this would be my number 1. I think not only is this my favorite album of 1984. It's one of my favorite albums of all time, and one I never get tired of listening to.
Ooh.
And that is Talking Heads' "Stop Making Sense" soundtrack.
Bravo!
Absolutely beautiful, brilliant album. Also, my favorite concert film of all time.
Being released this summer.
I know The Last Waltz gets a lot of love, and some others, but "Stop Making Sense," my all-time favorite. And I've watched the DVD at least a dozen times. I love that concert album.
And you do know that's coming out, as Christine just said, it's coming out later this year in theaters again.
I do.
So I'm so excited for that. Because I saw it on the big screen a couple years ago, but all the complete concert, I'm jazzed. So yeah, and Stop Making Sense was my number 5. I had to eliminate a couple down. That was my number 5. So I love hearing that.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the music is like every track. It just bangs. You got David Byrne out there with the energy of a toddler on Ritalin. I don't know how he does it. in a very nice suit that suspiciously expanding over time, yeah, just absolutely brilliant concert and a brilliant soundtrack, and I absolutely love it. Life During Wartime is probably my favorite track on there. It's one of those that I just never get tired of. So that's my number
another
one.
thing I love about that album, unlike a lot of bands in live settings, they just play what you hear on the album. Talking Heads, they did different arrangements, not of everything, but when they added Bernie Worrell from the Herbie Hancock's band and just bringing all those extra musicians in, they changed the arrangements. I love that, and so you're burning down the house, hitting on different syllables. Oh, yeah, Stop Making Sense is so good.
Yeah, and it's one of those live albums that I mean doesn't sound like a lot of live albums lose some of the quality because it's a recorded live album, but Stop Making Sense, man, it does not lose any quality between like a pre-recorded album and that live version. It's absolutely fantastic.
Plus a bonus with a Tom Tom Club song.
Indeed. Yep. Good stuff. So
1984, folks, it's my wheelhouse. Oh, and one also a great nod to David Byrne on a great sketch on SNL. Rich Hall doing just getting dressed up in the video. You may ask yourself, why is this suit so big? All this useless knowledge, folks, it comes in handy for shows like this.
Yeah.
Is that the Rich Hall that does kind of spoofs of country music albums?
Not to my knowledge. I first knew Rich Hall from the whatever HBO show. I was kind of like a news parody show. I was ahead of his time, news parody show, but he was one of the guys who read the Snakelets.
Oh, okay, I know who you're talking about. Okay, sorry. There's another Rich Hall who does like almost like a Weird Al version of
that's
country
Julia
music,
Louis-Dreyfus's husband, right?
That's Brad Hall.
Oh, that's Brad Hall.
So there was a Rich Hall and a Brad Hall on SNL at the same time. Yeah, or maybe they overlap by a year.
You're
No,
right.
Brad Hall left. Julia Louis-Dreyfus stayed on for the 1984-85 season. Rich Hall is the guy who actually won the Superman audition. He beat out Christopher Reeve because Christopher Reeve was kind of bumbling and stumbling in the audition for Richard Donner. Played by Jim Belushi.
I know who you're talking about now. I got you. I get foggy in the old SNL. It's been too long.
84-85 was my favorite year with Billy Crystal and Martin Short and Chris Guest. So
excellent.
But hey, Marty. We're gonna go to you next.
All right. So
are you doing a 3-2-1 or a 1-2-3 or it doesn't matter?
I'm gonna do a 3-2-1. Maybe at some point before I get to one, I'll do a couple of honorable mentions. One of them will shock you that it's not on here, but I'm going to go with number 3, and I'm at least you, Eric, will strongly disagree. Possibly all three of you people. Bob Marley's Legend. It is full of one song after another that changed my way of looking at life, and not in some philosophical way like the lyrics. It was, they were poignant or whatever. This album was made for white people. We know that. It was made to apply to a broader range. But that island beach mentality, that feeling that everything is fine. Yeah, we have problems, but we're okay. Look around. Everything is good. I just come off the worst 7 years, almost a decade of my life. Dark places. And man, reggae changed everything for me. And obviously, unless you're into reggae, Bob Marley is reggae for most people. But it's, hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. I mean, there's, I don't know, 6 or 7 that charted, and just absolutely loved it. And I was living on the beach at the time, so that helped.
All right, and I'm with you, and I'm not surprised by that at all. And that's a great call, but it's technically a greatest hits album.
It is. It is. But again,
hey, it's an album that came out in 1984. It qualifies.
There you go. Wait, I mean, Live After Death would qualify, but it didn't.
No, that was 1985.
But it would qualify as an album, is what I mean.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Or it would be on here as my number.
Oh, don't worry. We'll have a live albums countdown at some point too.
There we go.
And you and I will overlap yet again. So yeah.
All right. So anyway, it was really I love the music, but I really just love the whole lifestyle and the whole everything that I was going through in that time. And anytime I hear reggae, it takes me back. Got custody of my son. I met the love of my life, who, well, she's not here now, but she's been by my side since then. That was almost 20 years ago. So for me, it just, they say music does a thing. It moves you. It takes you back to a place. This definitely does. I've got an old piece of crap truck out in the driveway. It runs and everything, but I only hold on to it because it's from that time and, greatest time of my life. So many good things happening. So Bob Marley, thank you, sir.
I'm not
All
a big
right.
fan of the whole Rastafarian philosophy, but I will say that he did make some amazing music, and
Yeah,
it's
me either.
it's the best. Yeah, it's the best music out there if you want to chill, as everyone who's ever lived in a college dorm can testify. I think everyone goes through a Bob Marley phase as they're going through college. So
You want to get the chicks,
absolutely.
you better have Legend.
And by the way, I
Or
still don't
acoustic
smoke
guitar.
weed. I still haven't smoked weed since high school. So I didn't get all of it.
Right.
All right. I see someone's muted because of the yappy dogs. But let's bring back Christine for her pick.
And I appreciate that. I actually got to meet the Whalers a couple of years ago and have breakfast with them. And
Really?
just cool dudes.
Nice.
Yeah, super cool
Like
dudes. And I got to
Tosh?
sing I got to sing Justin Happy Birthday, which was kind of cool.
Was
Dang.
Ziggy there?
Huh?
Was Ziggy there?
No, it was somebody else.
Tosh? Peter Tosh?
Continue. Hold up.
Uh-oh.
Wow. The joys of recording at home when you've got three boys. It happens.
Or that was a home invasion. I hope those boys can fight.
Well, all three of them are football players, so I hope so. Go get some, boys. Go get some. So I guess we'll just skip to me now, and I just want to illustrate how difficult this was. I'm just going to give a sampling of how difficult 1984, or just how awesome 1984 was. And I wish these were disposable. I could do like a Letterman, throw it off to the side, but I won't. The Honey Drippers. Slay. This has one of my top 3 songs from the year. Run, Run Away. It's such a badass song, and Slade kicks in. Tina Turner, Private Dancer. Steve Perry.
Almost made my list.
Street Talk. Metallica leaps forward just going after Kill 'Em All. This was a huge leap forward for them. Doesn't make
honorable.
Julian Lennon, Velotte. Yes. Pretty much another Prince album, but sung by Morrison and the boys. And here's the Go-Go's with Talk Show. Beauty and the Beat gets all the love as it should. It's an amazing debut album, but Talk Show I will listen to just as much as Beauty and the Beat. So that's but a sampling of what I had to dig through this brain of mine. But my number, I guess I will do a 3-2-1. And my number 3 would be, it was there and then it left. Unforgettable Fire by U2. And for, another leap forward. It was the first album that they did with Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois producing. And side 2 gets a little, Bono getting a little too, struggling too much to be a poet, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But just the title track, A Sort of Homecoming, Pride in the Name of Love, as much as it got overplayed, just so that was their announcement that, this is a leap forward from the very raw and amazing War album that preceded it, and then Under a Blood Red Sky, live at Red Rocks. And 4 more days. Let's end and Wire on the and my all-time favorite U2 song is on Unforgettable Fire, Bad, which the next year for Live Aid, yes, Queen was the star. Absolutely, positively, that was the greatest performance you will ever see from, in my book, the greatest music performance ever on television. But U2 doing Bad that day, almost 10-minute long, might even cross 10 minutes. Epic, personified. And Unforgettable Fire, such an amazing album from U2. And it allowed them to go to the next level the next time around with Joshua Tree. But that is my number 3. And now we flip over to Christine.
We flip over to me telling you that you're wrong. I'm just kidding.
Oh, it's Mr. Anti-U2 there. Yes.
You know, they're a brilliant band. They have amazing music, and I don't really like it. I don't know why.
And you don't have to. There's enough of us that love it.
Yeah, they are fantastic.
U2 is to Eric as Sublime is to Marty.
There you go. There you go. Good analogy, because they are fantastic. There's no denying it. That's a great band. Their music is fantastic, and if I'm accidentally listening to it, I enjoy it. But I don't like it.
But we will not be convincing Marty and his wife Nicole to join us in Las Vegas to see U2 later this year. Maybe just the Vegas part, but not for U2.
The Vegas part is still on the table because I like me some Vegas. Anyway, to Christine.
And good, bad, or indifferent, I have to continue what my beloved over there started, because so much of my music taste, I'm the youngest of 4 kids. So a lot of my music taste came from my father listening to prog rock and Rolling Stones and, the Beatles and all of these bands, and then went into Ozzy Osbourne and Led Zeppelin and Journey and Styx with my oldest sisters, and Rush from my second sister, and she got me into R.E.M. But the majority of the stuff that I still listen to that I got from one of my older siblings was from my brother Steven. And he got me into U2 from the very beginning, got me into U2. And I was brought up under his wing listening to U2. And one of my all-time favorite songs is A Sort of Homecoming. I get kind of choked up when I even sing that song. It's a little silly, but I love
and the dog will start. I think she's saying love the album. I have to give
a nod, because there's other albums that were in my list of Humans Live from Howard Jones, Reckoning from R.E.M, Let It Be from The Replacements. My God, The Replacements, these amazing bands that I was introduced to from my brother, all the punk stuff, but U2, it always goes back to U2, and I just still get emotional when I listen to them. So that's definitely in my top 3 for 84.
All right, there you have it. And Marty's already argued with me that I was wrong, so by proxy, Christine's wrong on that one too.
All right, I'll take it.
So there's no need to repeat that anymore. So Jim, we go back to you for your number 2.
Okay.
Christine's totally right.
Love you, Marty.
Dear.
Oh,
yes,
my
dear.
She's right, and I don't have to lie to say it because I love you too also. Marty, why do you hate the Irish? That's what I want to know. What's your problem, man?
I was going to bring up How Can the Wolf Survive, Los Lobos, but I'm not going to now. Forget it.
Hey, wait a minute. I like the Pogues and the Dubliners, and I mean,
and Mark Daly and the Ravens.
See?
The
Irish are good.
Yeah. Anyway, so my number 2, and I'm going to apologize in advance because this is an iconic 80s album, so I apologize in advance if I'm doubling up with somebody else's pick. But this is an album that I absolutely love from my childhood, Michael Jackson, Thriller. And one of those that my parents had on vinyl, and I have a lot of good memories of me and my big sister as kids listening to those records over and over again. That one is in particular, and it's got Thriller, it's got Billie Jean, it's got so many of Michael's hits from back in the day.
Want to be starting something? The Girl Is Mine.
Yep. Just absolutely fantastic album. That one of those defining albums from the 80s, and I mean, we can talk all day about how sad it was in Michael's personal life that he devolved from Elvis into Gollum during my lifetime, and how unfortunate that was. But there's no question he was an incredible talent, and that's an absolutely iconic album. So that's my pick, Thriller.
And although that is technically an album from 1982, this is a good segue time because it was still charting. Only 5 albums hit number 1, the Billboard Top 200 album chart in 1984. Thriller started out the year carrying over from 82, 83. It was basically the number 1 album. I think Synchronicity was one of the few albums to knock it off briefly. Then it came back because Michael just kept releasing single after single after single.
Right.
I think there's only 1, maybe 2 songs off of that 9 songs on that album that was not released as a single in the States. But Thriller started out the year at number 1. Does anyone want to venture any guesses? This can prove who actually listens to me in our friend conversations.
What is it?
What was the next album? 5 albums hit number 1 in the year 1984, and only 5. Thriller started out the year at number 1. What displaced it and stayed for a few weeks?
It was Sports.
No, that came in the summertime for 1 week. So there's
Okay.
2.
You said short time. That's why I went with Sports, because Purple Rain did many thousand consecutive weeks.
Well,
so
that closed the year, and there's only 2 more now. 2 more, and one of them, the one that displaced it, was a soundtrack.
Oh, Footloose.
I think I know that one. Yeah. Yep.
And then there was some album by a guy from New Jersey.
Yeah.
You may have heard of
Yeah.
him.
Whatever happened to him?
A little album.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's one of that album. That album's one of my honorable mentions. I was raised by basically hippies, and that was my first kind of delve into patriotism.
And it's not even a patriotic song; it's an
Not really,
song.
Not really. But hey, there's an American flag, man. Come on.
That's right. Well, he changed it from it was supposed to be on Nebraska. That song. It was acoustic, and then he decided to add the anthemic chorus to it, and the bombast was added for Born in the USA album. And then guys like Ronald Reagan tried to co-opt it, and it just blew up. Another classic case of a Republican trying to co-opt something, and it blows up in their face. But whatever.
Hey,
It was
Clinton
a feel-good chorus. So,
It is. It is.
but those are your five albums. That's it in the year of 1984. Back before SoundScan, where you could kind of bribe the record stores to keep selling the albums. But Footloose was an honorable mention for me, just because song after song after song.
So
yeah,
the obvious Kenny Loggins. What was the other?
There's 2 Kenny Loggins, just like there's 2 in
There is,
Top Gun.
but there's a third biggest song on that album. Do anybody but Eric know who that is by? Female.
Well, the song is "Let's Hear It for the Boy,"
Yeah,
but I can't remember who the singer is.
Yeah, let's hear it for the Denise Williams.
Oh,
Yeah,
let's hear it for
that
the
was the
boys.
one. That was the one. Yeah, I forgot all about it.
And I just learned recently that Bonnie Tyler's holding out for a hero. Only that did not crack the top 30. It was somewhere like I think it peaked at number 34. Or it's peaked somewhere in the 30s. And that's one of the best songs on the album, as far as I'm concerned. Sammy Hagar's got a great one on there. The Girl Gets Around, Dancing in the Sheets, Shalimar.
A lot of songs.
Good stuff.
And then and Quiet Riot and John Mellencamp and Foreigner had songs in the movie, but those weren't on the soundtrack till they released a bonus, the special edition remastered. All this useless knowledge.
Well, I think that head injury gave you a superpower.
Hey, have you ever heard The Police? No, but they're behind us now. All right, Marty, you're number 2.
All right, my number 2. And by the way, I'll just say it now. Purple Rain was knocked off by Legend, and I know that's blasphemous to hear, but sadly it was. It was in there, and then I went, wait a minute. Okay, so number 2. Number 2, Van Halen, 1984. Yes.
I do that because Marty and I have been friends for a few years now, and I know that when that album came out, he was one of those Van Halen guys who didn't like the keyboard so much. But Marty, go ahead. This is welcome news. So,
well, for the other 2 who haven't heard this, I know Eric has, and for the millions and millions of you listening
and growing.
So me and my friends were in my high school anyway. In '84, there was kind of three things going on. There was the group of people that were into Thompson Twins and Depeche Mode and Duran Duran, and you get the idea. And then there was the group that was into all the really pop stuff, all just whatever was charting. And then there was me and my idiot friends. We were into metal and metal only. We liked rock. Zeppelin was cool, whatever. You know, we were cool with the Doobie Brothers and all that. But really, we were into metal. Metal, that's it. And so there was this constant conflict, right? And we were very excited. 1984 is coming out. And we were, they said it was on KLOS. They said, we're going to debut the Van Halen's latest single. So we were all hanging out at my buddy Johnny's house, not doing anything illegal. We were not smoking anything illegal. We were hanging out and waiting. We were waiting for this song to come on, right? And I don't know if I put this part in the part that I told Eric, but Johnny's parents were out of town for the weekend. Johnny had an older brother who had already moved out. He showed up and we were all, I'm just going to say it, we were all in Johnny's room smoking weed, waiting for the song to come on. And he came in the room and started flipping things over and punching us up. So we all ran out and ran to my 1973 Pinto, which was I was the only one who had a car, and turned KLOS back on. That's where we heard it. Sitting out in front of Johnny's house. Johnny's arguing in the house with his older brother, and the rest of us are sitting out front. And here's the single from Van Halen and keyboards. We almost cried. We almost cried. It was devastating. I still kind of feel it right now. It was so awful. We could not believe it. Now, as I've gotten older, I realize it's a good song. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. But keyboards, this was the anti-rock. And Van Halen was God. And what is God doing? God doesn't play keyboards. It was rough.
Didn't you
Very
see
rough.
it coming, though, with that intro to Dancing in the Street off Diver Down?
Yeah, I should have.
Had a little bit keyboard thing going on at the beginning of In the Cradle Will Rock, too.
There was a couple little clues here and there, but we kind of, that's cool, whatever. But so it wasn't until, the album was released shortly after, maybe a couple of weeks or so. I went down to, and this won't, if you're not from Southern California, you won't know what this is. Licorice Pizza. Went down there and bought myself the album, and we went to my room, and basically the same group of guys. We played the rest of the album. We were very, very happy. We were, okay, this album rips. Cool. That one terrible song. Because I know there's another song with a keyboard with a lot of keyboards in it, but that song's a lot better. That song's,
I'll Wait is a better song than Jump.
Yeah,
yes.
So, anyway, so 1984, I was a junior in high school, and I was invincible. I had a 6-pack. Every weekend was an adventure.
You're messing people up on the football field.
School was easy. No, I was already done with football by then because grades were, I screwed up in my grades, and they said thanks, but no thanks. But life was good. Life was really good, and that album is, on the probably 20 albums of the soundtrack on my high school years. Despite Jump.
You'll get no argument from me on that one, and yeah. Christine, you're up next.
I had a really hard time.
Well, give us a couple of your honorable mentions.
Such a hard time. Like, you have one of the albums that easily could have been in my top 3. Like, I still listen to it. I was so excited when I found it at the record store a couple weeks ago. The first album I ever bought for myself was released in 1984. So, like, I had a really, really hard time because even though
this one,
I love that album. I love that album, but it's not Prince.
No, it is not.
It's not Purple
Rankin
Rain.
Roger is no Prince.
I I mean, I'll tell you, Dave Wakeling, General Public, English Beat. I've probably seen them more than any
So
other
good.
band that I've ever seen in my life. Like, I walk up and I get the head nod from Dave. Like, seriously, I've seen him so many times, probably.
Oh, I love the English Beat.
Right? Freaking love them. If it was the year Special Beat Service was released, no contest. But like, yeah, I love All the Rage, but I had to go with Purple Rain because it just was everything back then. It just was everything. I remember going to the movies with all of my friends and like taking over rows of the movie theater with my friends and seeing that movie, and like we knew all the words. We would have sleepovers and like act like I know it sounds super cheesy, but like we seriously loved that album, and it holds up. Like, it's amazing. You could be anywhere and hear, the intro. Dearly beloved, we've been gathered here today to get through this thing called life, and everybody just stops.
Yep. For sure.
Right?
Sure.
So
We
gotta go with
co-opted that
Purple.
intro.
Had to see with Purple, huh?
One of our shows when I was in the first band I was in LA, the Gentlemen Callers, we were playing down at the Club Lingerie on the Sunset Strip, and it was right after the 20th anniversary of Purple Rain had come out, and I had gotten it and all that, and so with the band's permission, I had the DJ say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Gentlemen Callers," and then I went into "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life." Then Dennis kicked in on the drums. So yeah.
Did you say it like Prince?
Omnipresent. I don't care how cheesy it was. It was fun.
Did you say it like Prince?
Dearly beloved, we gather here today. Pancakes.
Electric Wood, that life that means forever. That's a mighty long time.
But I'm here to tell you, there's something else. And I do have to ask you, at these sleepover parties, did anyone ask if the water was warm enough?
Funny.
Oh my.
Very funny.
You got. This is what the round table's like, folks. We go at it.
Yes.
Well, I will
tell you, off of that album for a very long time, like I Would Die For You was like my favorite off of that album.
Well, baby, you're a star.
Yeah, Baby You're a Star is a good one too, but I Would Die For You was my favorite.
I like the dirty one.
Not a bad song. My only beef with it is the fact that yes, it's called the Purple Rain soundtrack. It's a Prince album. A soundtrack should have songs from. There's also good stuff from there from the time, which you got on
the time, yeah.
One the Ice Cream Castle album that came out also in '84. You've got Des Dickerson, Prince's old guitarist, who we brought in for the solo song on there, Mountaineer, and of course was the Vanity Six, then became the Apollonia Six.
Yep.
Sex Shooter.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're nice enough to me and you have a CD player that still works, I made the deluxe version of it, including all those songs and dialogue from the film.
Nice.
And Purple Rain didn't even make my top 3, folks. Didn't even make it.
That's
an honorable
surprising.
mention.
That's surprising.
Wow.
Yeah. So what
That's
is your number
blasphemous.
2, Eric?
My number 2, well, I've already overlapped with you, Christine. I will now overlap with, I'm sure, Martin Zamora's number 1. I can only guess will be this album. And like, the stuff that Marty brought up earlier, I was that guy. I've always been a jukebox mentality. So I was listening to pop. I was listening to Duran Duran and Thompson Twins. Because for me, and this is where 1984 is where MTV really started to gain a foothold in influencing sales of albums. And it was also the first year they started flexing their muscles. It was the first year of the MTV Video Awards, hosted by anyone? Dan Aykroyd and Bette Midler. And the video of the year that year was from an album that is so good, it would be in my top 10. Honorable mention to the Cars, Heartbeat City. And the videos from that album were amazing, all of them. And the songs matched it as well. So I had the Cars. And another thing about 1984, you could turn on the radio and you would hear Rat and Tina Turner, Bryan Adams, Reckless, another great album from that year that carried over to 1985.
One of my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
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 But Springsteen, Prince, and Huey Lewis and Van Halen, you didn't change the channel. It's not like it is now where you've got all this segmented stuff and clear channel. And, like what band today could be heard across multiple stations? I think only Foo Fighters or maybe the Chili Peppers. Or maybe Miley Cyrus. I don't know. But everything's so segmented now and it's balkanized. But
and radio is not what it was.
yeah. I mean,
You listen to what you want now.
Right. But I also, because of MTV, in 1983, I started seeing another of Marty's favorite albums from Iron Maiden. It may even be his favorite, Peace of Mind. Really got into Maiden then. And I like it because they were an intelligent band. I mean, on Peace of Mind, they sang about there it is right there. Hey, I think I know who got that. But To Tame a Land was about Dune.
So
And then flash forward a year, 1984, and Power Slave by Iron Maiden still blows me away. That album is start to finish. I mean, Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Lost for Words, the instrumental, Flash of the Blade, The Duelist, and the title track, I Don't Want to Die, I'm a God, Why Can't I Live On? And the capper, the album, a 12-minute song based off of Samuel Taylor Coleridge's Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, which I actually got one of my teachers to play in English class senior year on our Coleridge chapter. And we said, when we listened to the Live After Death version, Marty.
Nice.
So, yeah. But Power Slave, and I've only seen Maiden once in my life, and it was, 2 tours ago. It took me so long to see one of my favorite bands, and that I heard Power Slave that night and just went ape shit. So, but Iron Maiden, Power Slave, my number 2 from 1984. Oh, but hey, I almost forgot. Here's what we had to deal with that year as well. The Alarm, Declaration, David Bowie's least favorite album by anyone, maybe besides Never Let Me Down.
I love Bowie, but that album.
I love side 2 of this album. Side 1, very questionable cover of the Beach Boys. No, don't like that song. But side 2, love this album. There's some Thompson Twins for you, Into the Gap. And here they are. Oh, what's the name of this album, by the way? All Over the Place. Gotta Love the Bangles. And, oh, yeah, the Breakin' soundtrack. Not the second one. The second one came later in 1984, Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. But this is where it all started, folks. Shabba-Doo and who's the other guy? Don't look, Eric. Shabba-Doo and I can't remember. Shabba-Doo and Boogaloo Shrimp.
Oh, that's right. Boogaloo Shrimp. Yes.
Boogaloo Shrimp. That's what I had. So there's some more albums from the awesome 1984 year. Let's close this mother out, folks. Whether it's your number 1 or your number 3, Jim Culver, go.
Okay, so my third was officially is Van Halen 1984, but I cannot tell a better story than Marty did about that album. So I'll just say it's a fantastic album, and Van Halen has some of the most fun music of my childhood, and I absolutely love it.
Fun for sure.
Yeah. So I some of my backups have also been mentioned: the Footloose soundtrack and Bryan Adams' Reckless. So I will move on to another honorable mention that has not been discussed tonight, but I think and it's not a personal favorite, but I think it's really an essential album from the early '80s, and that would be Madonna's "Like a Virgin."
Came out at the end of the year.
Yep.
Monster.
So absolutely, I mean, just incredible music, and she was just an absolute force to be reckoned with back then. I mean, Madonna's one of those celebrities that I've wanted to go away for a very long time, and that's the nicest thing I can say about her these days. But there's no denying, man. Back in the '80s, she was absolute force to be reckoned with. Her music was beautiful and haunting and powerful. Of course, Like a Virgin, and which also inspired maybe the best Quentin Tarantino monologue of all time.
Kick.
got Madonna's big dick coming out of my left ear. I got Toby the Jap coming out of my right ear. I actually quoted that at a baseball
Exactly.
game the other day when someone was
Oh,
playing
really?
music. One of the parents was playing music too loudly. I had a coach yapping at me in one ear, and and I said Madonna's big dick, and then and Toby the Jap or Toby Toby Jong. Thank God I'm
Exactly.
still employed.
Yeah, seriously.
And Madonna debuted that song at the MTV Video Awards,
And got in big trouble for it.
writhing around in in the wedding dress.
Yeah.
Back when you got in trouble for those kind of things in the music industry.
And to Christine with Purple Rain, I did not see that in the theater. My mom did not allow it because the Catholic, one of the Catholic nun associations, condemned it. So I was not allowed. And then, of course, my father, the Methodist in the family, got me the cassette when we moved to Toledo. And then I got to see it when it came out on video. So, and my dearly departed grandmother Betty, I had to share that. I hate to. I'm sorry, Jim. I'll just with Like a Virgin, Christmas 1984. Grandma Betty bought me that album for Christmas.
Oh my!
And I would just have loved to have been at National Record Mart that day when a 61-year-old woman came up and asked, "Where can I get Madonna's Like a Virgin album?" Or knowing Betty, she probably found, she was so resourceful, she found it on her own, but just to see her put it down on the counter to sell. So I love
Hey,
it.
Eric.
You brought her up.
Hey, Eric.
Yes.
How old are you?
53 going on 14, 1984 age.
Yeah, so 61's not that far away for you. I know you picture a little old lady, but oh my, we're getting old.
You don't slow
Not
down.
nice,
You never
Marty,
grow
not
old.
nice.
If it's too loud, you're too
And
old.
that's right. And who's going to get to 61 before I do? The guy in the lower left, and as far as my screen showing. So, yeah.
Yeah, very soon, like 5 minutes from now.
Mm.
By the way,
we can't really play the Brady Bunch here because Jim's below me. Christine's
Right.
over there to my. Actually, I got to go the other way around there.
yeah,
There,
so
she's that direction.
Eric's over there.
Yeah, and Marty's down there. Yes.
We are absolute professionals. Let me tell you.
We don't goofy.
Hey, by the way, Mr. Culver,
Sir?
all of Eric's ramblings, all of his
I love
brain
ramblings.
explosions. When we talk about movies, it's your time to do that thing.
Well, yeah, that's why I have infinite patience, because I know that's how I sound to people when I start talking about movies. They just kind of smile and nod, like, "Oh yeah, that's so interesting that guy was in that other movie that I also haven't seen." Yeah. So
Marty,
all good.
you picked 1984 knowing this could very well happen.
Yes.
It's my ultimate wheelhouse.
Yes. So, am I up?
You're up.
You're up.
You're up.
You're numero uno.
Well, I think it's not that much of a secret anymore. Just based on subtle, very, very subtle clues that I've left.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
He's starting to get glitchy.
Yes. Bow to Power Slave.
Okay.
And he totally froze.
Worth it. Worth it.
Totally worth
All
it.
right,
That's the
very
best backdrop ever.
So, I'm back, right?
Yes, you're good.
Yes.
Well, am I back?
Smooth.
Okay.
No, you're
So
you're
yeah,
front.
Power Slave. Eric, he already covered. He rambled off all the songs. For me, it was "R.E.M. of the Ancient Mariner." That blew my mind. That song, but the whole album, just one good song after another, and I'm pretty sure it's because I loved Iron Maiden. No, forget that. I love Iron Maiden with all my heart. Whether you have a relationship with a woman, a man, a god, a car, I love Iron Maiden that much, probably more. I love that band so freaking hard. And that album, Eric may have talked me out of Peace of Mind. Look at that guy. man, they were just everything I needed them to be. They were entertaining and musically good, and even people that weren't into them would hear them and go, "What the heck is this? This is awesome!" And I would win over some of my Thompson Twin friends, like, "Hey, listen to this." They're like, "Wow, what the hell are you listening to? That's pretty good." So, love the album. Went to every tour from '83 to '86, right in there. I did all of those. Obviously, Live After Death was just.
He was there, folks, when Bruce Dickinson screamed or requested "Scream for Me, Long Beach." He was there.
I was about 20 or 30 rows back on the floor. I started about 100 rows back, but I was in high school. You weren't stopping me. And so we chair climbed and crowd whatever we have to do, and we ended up about 25 to 30 rows back by the time they were really rolling. And I was looking at a guy, not very far away, "Scream for Me, Long Beach." Later on, when I bought the album, I almost cried. Like, I was fucking there. Yeah. It's kind of dumb now, but man, it was just such an amazing experience. And that band took me through, at least from my sophomore year to my Jesus years, which was right around 21. So, that's what I listened to all the time. Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Ozzy, all that, just constantly. And Iron Maiden just stands far and away just better than all the rest. And the Michael Jordan of metal for me is Iron Maiden, and I'm gonna cry.
That's beautiful, Marty. That's beautiful.
And you saw them, was it earlier? I don't know, it was last year, you and your son.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for bringing that up.
So there's the generational thing there. And when you're there at an Iron Maiden show, tell everybody like what the age range was at that show.
I was blown away. So I get a call from my son. He's like, "Dad, you're going to be here by this time, right?" Because we were moving from Havasu over here to Southern California. And I said, "Yeah, well, I'll be there." "Why?" "Iron Maiden's playing. They're playing Chula Vista. We got to go, San Diego." I'm like, "You're kidding." He goes, "We're there." "Yeah, we're there." So we're both excited. We haven't been to a Maiden show together. It was just, good setup, right? We get there, and of course, everything's $25. You want a beer? It's $25. You want a napkin? $25. It was, well, whatever. We fought through all that. The T-shirt that will be in the mail for you, Eric, was $50. $50.
Yeah.
Anyway, rented a chair for $25. The crowd that was there was a mixture of a lot of guys like me. I'll be honest. There was a lot of guys like me that were, right around the early to mid 50s that were just, they went through what I went through. Surprisingly, a lot of younger people, teenagers that came. There was a kid. He was, I don't know, maybe 10 or something like that. Him and his dad I was a little embarrassed that me and my son weren't as excited as they were. They were singing every lyric, every song. The kid loved it so much. He was 10.
That's what blew me away when I saw him. These kids were knowing that kids that age and maybe even a little bit younger knew the words to Wrathchild, which is the first couple albums. It's like, Maiden fans are dead. I would say they're more hardcore than Slayer fans. And those are hardcore fans.
Oh, yeah. Their rival, and I don't really care for the music, but they rival the Grateful Dead in that dedication of like, this is my band and I don't care what happens.
Yeah.
I don't care where I am or what I'm doing. These are my guys. And man, just love them. I was going to do the honorable mention thing before I said that, but whatever.
Let's hear them.
Yeah. My honorable mentions are Born in the USA, which we covered, a few others, Last in Line, Defenders of the Faith, not Judas Priest, best album, but still, I was a metalhead.
There's some
so-
good. The Sentinel is one of the best Priest songs, though.
Very good song, yes. So I was. It was no British Steel, but I loved it. I was a metalhead. Ride the Lightning, you mentioned that. Man, I mean, I remember listening over and over to the Replacements. Let It Be. It was amazing, and it was an amazing time in my life. No,
Said no, Marty ever.
no. I did, actually, while I was
He's
doing
taunting
this,
us, Christine, taunting us.
I will tell you this, both of Utes. When I was so I was doing some research for the show, and I was just listening to some music and just enjoying the Wayback Machine, as it were. And I knew this album came out, so I went to the YouTube option where you can listen to the whole album, put it on my TV, cranked it up, and then made myself something to eat. And I listened to half the album while I was cooking, and then when I was eating, I switched to Netflix. But I'll say it's really good. It's really good. It's my kind of music. It's really good. I just never got into them.
And to be honest, I didn't get into the Replacements. I was still pop guy. I didn't get into the Replacements till later in high school, and then worked backwards. But I remember there was a Gary Bleckner was in my French class freshman year, and he was one of the skateboard guys who had the Replacements because we all giggled as freshmen would. Like, oh, there's a song called "Gary's Got a Boner" on this album. Tommy gets his tonsils out.
Tommy gets his
Tommy
tonsils
got
out.
his. So
Yeah,
there's
that's pretty
juvenile
good.
stuff, but there's some good deep stuff on that album too.
So, if you don't mind me sort of segueing a bit, who hasn't done their number one yet? Okay, so I'm gonna segue now then. Oh, none of you have. I was the first. Perfect.
No, I was pointing at those
Oh,
two.
okay. Okay. So
we do our number ones before you start knocking off our selections?
No. This isn't about music. This isn't about music. We're talking about this time in our lives, and some of us were much, much younger. I'm looking at you,
I think
Jim.
we all generally were much younger
Than me? Yes,
That's
you
it.
were. You were much younger than me. All of you were.
Also, we're all much younger than we are now.
All of you Utes. Anyway, but the things, and Eric is the one that's old enough to remember this stuff. Is that the cup we got at the Rockabilly Fest?
You know it, baby.
Holy shit.
It's the Chuck Wagon soda.
Yeah, I got that in my cupboard. I use it when I make mules. Anyway, that was the year that Rick Allen lost his arm.
Yep.
In that C4 Corvette.
That fatal accident, yes.
Yeah. And he said, us guys, I still want to be in the band. And they're like, you're our mate. That's cool. Anyway, some stuff that was going on with pop culture at the time. We had Where's the Beef? That was a thing that was at that time.
Who said it? Who was the lady who said Where's the Beef? All right, there we go. Yes.
Wow, look at you go. Ghostbusters was in the movie. I know you. You guys are so sweet. I'm getting
talking to Marty. No, I'm just kidding.
Getting a cavity now.
Also, fun fact about the Where's the Beef lady. She was basically deaf when she did those commercials.
Mm-hmm.
She could not hear the prompts, so they actually had somebody right off camera. They would just nudge her shoulder so she'd remember to say the word. So if you watch the commercial closely, you can see her going, "Where's the beef?" like that, because she's getting nudged by somebody. Like, say your line, say it. Okay, anyway.
That's great. Other things that happened around. Andy Kaufman died.
Yeah.
The lung thing, I think, lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and then we got PG-13 in 1984. That was, it's normal now, but that was when it showed up. And I'm going to go ahead and throw to Jim. What movie was it?
Oh, I should know this.
All right, Eric, go ahead.
Well, there are actually there's multiple answers to this. The first movie that was rated PG-13 was The Flamingo Kid.
Wait, time out.
That was not his question.
This is my shocked face that Eric has extra knowledge for my question. Go ahead, Eric. Pontificate.
Flamingo Kid, starring Janet Jones and the awesome Matt Dillon, but was not released until later in the summer. I think it was late August, early September. Dreamscape was also rated PG-13, but it came out like days after Red Dawn was the first movie to be released in the PG-13 format.
So the correct answer is Red Dawn.
Red Dawn.
Thank you
The
for that.
only version of Red Dawn, as far as I'm concerned, starring
Hell
the
yeah.
Swayze.
Starring everybody you've ever heard of.
Everybody who was an actor in the 80s.
Yes.
Basically, you got a lot of guys from The Outsiders, and then you got
Pony Boy.
more Dirty Dancing and Back to the Future.
Every dude. You got every dude.
C. Thomas Howell.
So that was it. That was a thing. And the last thing for me was big, and probably not for the rest of you. Christine, where'd you grow up?
Outside Chicago.
Okay. Well, all then. The 84 Olympics.
In Los Angeles, yeah.
I was just finished my junior year in high school. I was very horny, and we had driver's licenses and a little bit of money, and we would go out to we'd go to some of the Coliseum, or the Forum had some things going on, and actually my hometown had some archery, but we didn't go to that. But we would go over to Olympic Village, where all these athletes would stay.
International ladies.
Oh yeah, we would be like, "Hi, did you happen to notice I'm American?" And man, it was great. We talked to so many girls, and we would go there just as much as our gas money could get us there. 84, that was very, very special for me. That was a great year. Great year. For girls, I mean, Holland, they sent some girls over. There's German girls and
Australian girls.
Irish girls and Australian girls and Swedish girls. I guess you could tell what my type is by how I'm listing what I'm looking at.
Pasty and white.
Yes. Yes. If you
If I was a girl,
that's a
Marty'd be
bonus.
all over me.
You'd be the hottest chick ever. Although a little tall.
Fair enough. And
Because-
pop culture.
Hi, my name is Steve.
Oh, here I got my umpire burn today. So yeah, there's the pasty stuff. But
Jesus Christ.
and the biggest pop culture was Ronald Reagan winning in a landslide over
Walter
some guy
Mondale.
over that guy from Minnesota.
It was Mondale and Ferraro.
Very nice, Geraldine Ferraro. It was a great time to be an American, folks. Don't let anybody fool you otherwise. Like Reagan or hate him, we loved being Americans in the 80s.
For sure.
Or at least from 1983 on. That's where we got out of the malaise after that. But yeah.
So, Jim, how old were you in 84?
I was in kindergarten. So
Wow.
my memories are not as vivid as yours. I
hope not, but I was smoking a lot of weed at the time.
Well, you're number
similar.
3. We knew that from the Bob Marley selection.
Yeah, I have a few memories of that general period. The 83 quake. I remember that. I remember coming home and our kitchen being completely destroyed from that. Every dish we owned smashed to bits.
You're
What
native
city was that?
Californian. I often forget that.
What city?
Morgan Hill, just south of San Jose.
Oh, and that would have been the Whittier Narrows, or no, the big one, the big
one,
San
in
Francisco
83.
one,
Yeah.
Where the freeway smushed.
That was 91, or
So
90 or 91.
What about
There were two. There was one in 83, a fairly big one, and then there was the
San Francisco quake of 89?
Yeah, 89. Yeah.
that's the one with the freeway, right?
Right.
Yeah, with the
Yes.
World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were two big ones in the 80s. That was the first one I remember. It was 83. And let's see what else do I remember. I remember my first movie I remember seeing in the theater was Return of the Jedi, and it scared the crap out of me at that age because I was like 3.5, and seeing laser blasts at full sound going right by my head scared the crap out of me.
But the Muppets were really
awesome.
worth it, right? The Muppets
really
made
were,
the
yeah.
whole thing worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Ewoks.
I still would change that ending if I could. But anyway, yeah. So a few other memories like that. I do remember the '84 Olympics and that kind of thing, but not obviously not as vivid a memory as yourself. So,
all right, we need to round this out. There's two
All
of us with
right.
our number ones. We're
Oh,
going to
wait.
go to our producer.
go at it.
Come in. Your number one is
Oh my goodness. Okay, so gosh, it was so hard to pick.
So if you love Eric,
give us a
it's gotta
couple of
be
your other
replacement.
honorable mentions then.
Well,
As we hit the hour mark.
if I am taking it from the perspective of age, I probably would have to go with the Replacements, right? Like, would have to.
If you want to keep
But-
that boyfriend.
But like Eric said, I wasn't even into them back then. I had no idea who they were until Say Anything came out. Like, I had no clue. And my brother was listening to them, but like I didn't, like that totally missed me. Like Don't Tell a Soul was my first Replacements album. So hindsight, yes, now Let It Be is probably one of my favorite albums. Like, I love that album. It's great.
Say
But
Anything over my shoulder.
where I was,
Say Anything, the boombox over my shoulder.
Right, yeah, I see that. Yeah. But where I was in 1984 in my parents' living room, sitting in front of the stereo, recording cassette tapes off of the radio, North Central College radio. That was like my first exposure to college radio, and actually finding music on my own, not having it introduced to me by a sibling, was listening to college radio. And when I heard this band come over the airwaves, my mind exploded. Like, I was just like, who the hell are these people? Like, these people are like, my secret little goth chick in my heart, like, suddenly bloomed and blossomed. And Some Great Reward by Depeche Mode. It was like, People Are People, and Blasphemous Rumors, and Lie to Me, and Somebody. And I would sit there in front, like, recording them and writing the lyrics, like, obsessively, rewinding and playing and writing the lyrics to these songs. Because I didn't have the albums. I didn't have a record player in my room back then. But
Very good.
I just, pardon the children, I fucking loved that stuff. Like, it was amazing. Pardon the airwaves also. But sorry, the rating, we can bleep that out. But that was from there, it was like
Fine.
all the other, goth, indie, punk, just all that stuff that just came rushing in because of Depeche Mode.
That's fantastic. I for a minute there, I thought you were going to say Echo and the Bunnymen because you kept saying college. And I'm like, holy shit, is she going Echo?
No. But I mean, they're
What's the
one of
name
the
of that album,
bands.
Eric?
They're one of the bands that they used to play on that station.
See, I was introduced to Echo and the Bunnymen through their greatest hits compilation that came out in '85, Songs to Learn and Sing.
So you don't know the name of the album in '84 that Echo and the Bunnymen released?
They didn't have. I don't believe they had one in '84. Porcupines
did.
would have been a couple years.
No, they did. They did have one that year. I
Echo did
looked
have
at
one?
that. They did.
Yeah, again, I didn't get into Echo until later.
Yeah.
No,
I
was counting on you. I can't remember what it was now.
I was into Jesus and Mary chain.
I
And
have
then
to look it up. It wasn't in my. Honestly, it wasn't in my top 10. But that's great stuff. It's great stuff. But
shockingly, I have something to say about Depeche Mode. I won't say it to not offend people, but there's a line that Depeche Mode, Jeff Spicoli. Yeah. So I was metal guy. Hated it. Absolutely hated it. Of course, after the Jesus years, I started listening to music again, and I was like, okay, this terrible music is really, really good. Holy crap. I missed out on so much good music because I was like, metal or die, right?
Guy back then.
Yeah. So I missed out on a lot of good shit. So I would agree. Great album. Great album.
And of course, I lost myself in when I was starting to talk about like Marty with the Maiden and me picking Maiden for number 2. MTV again. It wasn't quite to the. They didn't have Headbangers Ball yet. They came later, but they started making metal and hard rock more accessible. So I mean, you had Last in Line, Out of the Cellar. You still had they're playing Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil from '83, and Van Halen playing more and more. Who else? Like Anthrax had their first album. Queensrÿche had their first album in '84. Except Balls to the Wall, fun album, fun song.
Good.
There's a lot of metal that came out that year. And another honorable mention for me before I get to my number one pick, Weird Al Yankovic, Dare to Be Stupid came out.
Very good.
And Marty, as a Devo fan, well, I know you like the song Dare to Be Stupid because that's Mark Mothersbaugh he got pissed at Weird Al. He's like, you wrote a Devo in one song. That's the best Devo song. We can't top that.
Yeah, that's so good. Love that song.
But that Al did not make my top 5. And here, just to round out, Wild Boys, the 45 that came out in '84 on the Arena album, video directed by Russell Mulcahy. He did a lot of their videos. Love that video, post-apocalyptic stuff. And speaking of post-apocalyptic, it's New Teeth, folks. I'm sorry, but this is the Two Tribes single. I got to get the centering thing down. And this album is so good. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. I know there's other people who played on the album besides the guys who actually got credited for it, but Holly Johnson, great singer. Paul Rutherford, no offense to Jerome from the time, but Paul Rutherford is the ultimate hype man to the lead singer in a band. And you've got the fun gatefolds, folks. And I love their little quote here at the bottom. I get buzzed off the fact that Andy Warhol's heard of us because he gets buzzed off the fact that Picasso had heard of him. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. They ruled 1984 on MTV quite a bit. And here's Peter Wolf, his first solo album that year, Lights Out. And then the band stuck around and they put out You're Getting Even While I'm Getting Odd. Not a good album. Not good. Jay Giles Band, one of my favorite bands of all time. This album sucks, except for Concealed Weapons, good song. And they had a song the next year on the title song for Fright Night, but that's a song for 1985. So we now arrive at my number one.
Hey,
we've had a lot of overlap tonight, folks, but there you have it.
There it is. Well done, sir.
So three of us.
Year. Yeah, three
of us had Van Halen 1984 in our top 3 albums. So I think that would win it. And
a little spot on.
Apparently the gents have it.
I made my parents sick of that album. They encouraged it. I got the first copy, not that one. That's the remastered one from a few years ago. I got the first copy at National Record Mart. My mom and dad made sure they drove me down there to when it opened that day. Fortunately, we didn't have school that day.
Where?
National Record Mart in Warren, Ohio, the Eastwood Mall, and technically in Niles, Ohio, next to Warren. But no, I had that first time, and I drove my parents nuts. They hated that song. Jump, might as well jump. Hit it and jump. Go ahead, jump. Yeah, Incense and Peppermints has such great lyrics too, Dad.
I definitely can agree with
Didier
Provoznik.
But end of the year, because I listened, and that was also I was a Casey Kasem head at the time, and Van Halen, that was their first number one single. They never had number one album with Dave. Again, they were just kept out of the top spot by Thriller. But 1984, their first number one song. And at the year-end countdown, I remember it was Christmas dinner or holiday dinner or whatever, and we're listening to the Casey Kasem show or what. I've since learned it may not have been Casey Kasem, may have been an American top 40 that wasn't Casey, but the number one or number 2 song of the year was Jump. And I look over at my mom and dad. They look at each other. They look back at me and say, well, you can pick a hit. Fine. Dad has since become a Van Halen fan, so all is forgiven. And and another song from that album, my mom was driving me to college. We had to go visit my grandparents first in Western New York. There's a town called Panama outside of in Western New York. And we're driving along, and Mom sees the sign. She's like, Panama, Panama, oh.
Wow.
I look at her. I roll the window down. I put my head out the window, and I say, thank you, God. So
You burrowed it into their brains.
I won the battle and the war. Van Halen for life.
So what's your favorite track there, Eric?
On the album?
Yeah.
Ooh. It's not one of the hits. It's either Drop Dead Legs or Girl Gone Bad.
Drop Dead Legs. I like Drop Dead Legs is mine. And
But I
maybe
get Top
because it
Timmy's
wasn't
got
a
a
hit.
scorching solo. I'll Wait's a phenomenal song. Hot for Teacher.
That's my pick.
And
Yeah, Hot for
Can't
Teachers.
go wrong.
and the
Hot for Teachers
videos.
right in my like wheelhouse. But I think maybe because it was played a lot, I was like, well, my favorite's got to be something that not everybody likes.
But Panama, a great single. Jump
Yeah.
is jumps. I mean, it's been played to death, but it's still. I mean, it's a great song.
Yeah. It's a song. You're right.
And it's got a decent
Song.
solo for me. It's not like it was all keyboard wall to wall, but I think it played. It was a nice introduction for the next the Hagar phase coming next.
I agree. It was a song.
Yeah, there you go. In the Pinto. So, well, there you folks go. There you go. It's the new teeth. I'm working
You'll
on
get
it.
used to it.
I will, but
Somehow those new teeth make your brain not work.
we keep saying these Threefers are going to be like we're going to whittle it to a half an hour, but I'll take the blame on this one. I carried us over at least 45 minutes. But
there are many great things that went over time. Some Super Bowls. There's one recent. The Civil War. A lot of great things went over time.
Thanks for the perspective, Marty.
there you go.
Yeah, pour yourself another glass.
He's killing the bottle. He's killing the bottle.
Oh!
Jug.
Oh, I love it. You don't have to encourage me. I'm not in college.
Shot.
When you think of our show, think of the Civil War. That's a great comparison.
Well, we can play the Titus Andronicus album about the Civil War, but that's a different show. So, well, folks, there you have it. 1984, our favorite 3 albums. So, quick rundown. Jim, go. Your 3 were?
Talking Heads Stop Making Sense, Michael Jackson Thriller, Van Halen 1984.
Marty.
Well, I will go in reverse order again because I like that. Bob Marley, Legend, 1984, Van Halen, and Power Slave.
Christine.
And I had Unforgettable Fire by U2, Purple Rain by Prince, and Some Great Reward by Depeche Mode.
And we're going last here, the overlap king. I love how much we overlap, but number 3 was Unforgettable Fire, U2. Number 2, Power Slave. And number 1, 1984, Van Halen. What a decade. What a year. That's all we got for tonight, folks. For today, whatever time of day you're watching and or listening to this. But thanks for tuning in here to All Over the Place. 1984, our top 3 albums, and we'll be back real soon. I'm not going to say who they are, but we got a lot of guests lined up for the month of May and beyond. And thanks for checking us out and to help keeping us grow. And never forget to also check out over at Media Pub Live. We are the official podcast over there at Media Pub Live, so check it out. We'll be back soon here on All Over the Place.
All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.